And ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the February 13th, 2018 County Commission meeting. I would remind you to silence your cell phones. Meeting documents are on the end of the counter next to Commissioner Bender. If you need a listening device, you can talk to Craig, who's sitting up here in the front. With that, we'll move on to routine business. Item number 1 is consider a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 2 is approve the minutes from the commission meeting on February 6, 2018. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 3 is bills to be paid amount of $3,629, $647.18.
Pay the bills.
Are there any comments on the bills?
I just would point out that today's bills include $3 million in motor vehicle funds that we are rebating to the state that's collected by the county. And I would also point out that we have over 200 individual bills for mental illness costs. I don't know if many people know we pay for regular health issues, but we pay for mental illness, we pay for rent, we pay for prescriptions. These burdens are on the county, and I like to say that we in the county take care of the naughty and the needy, and this is 200 bills for the needy. I just point that out.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to pay the bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 4 is reports. Item A is the auditor's account with the treasurer as of January 31st, 2018. Item B is the Minnehaha County Coroner's Report for November 2017. Item number 5 is personnel. Item A is consider a motion to approve the routine personnel action.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any
Excuse me.
questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 6 is abatements. Olivia Larson will read through these for us, but we're going to break them up according to classification so that we can vote on them when they come up instead of going back. So, starting with item A. Thank you.
Item A is for an assessment freeze for RDID 25072 for 2017 property taxes in the amount of $1,342.35.
Look for a motion on the assessment freeze.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, I just
Commissioner
these came to us on this report looking differently than normal. I guess this normal paperwork must be somewhere there as well, but
This is a
I-
new update to our software.
okay,
So
thanks.
it's much easier to see. Did you want to comment on it?
No, I'm happy with it. I just didn't expect that change.
Okay. Item B.
All right, item B is for Common Sense Investments, RDID 25766 for 2017 property taxes in the amount of $715.64, representing a building that was raised.
I need a motion on this one.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And next are, starting with C, I have a grouping.
Starting with C, we have Sioux Falls School District for RDID 30932, 2017 property taxes in the amount of $484.53. Also, Sioux Falls School District RDID 40400, 2017 property taxes in the amount of $610.48. Also, Sioux Falls School District RDID 42399, 2017 property taxes in the amount of $733.05. And then City of Sioux Falls RDID 47059, 2017 property taxes in the amount of $630.76, all for tax exempt status.
I would look for a motion for items C through C through F, tax exempt status.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item G.
Item G is for Ross Wickman, RDID 75112, 2017 property taxes in the amount of $805.66 for owner occupancy.
Is there a motion for owner occupancy?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And now H through M.
Yes, H through M is all for David Larson. So the RDID is 51636. It's for property taxes from 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. And respectively, the amounts are $667.40, $707.23, $732.10, $707.16, $657.22, $609.07.
Need a motion on H through M.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Olivia. Item number 17 is notices and request. Item number A is authorize the auditor to publish notice of public hearing for March 6, 2018 for the transfer of a retail on-off sale malt liquor license application submitted by Wildwater West. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize publication. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number B is authorize the auditor to publish notice of a public hearing on March 6, 2018 to present an update on the CDB funding for the STI certification, Certified Nursing Assistant Workforce Development Project.
So move.
Second.
Second to authorize publication. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number C is authorize the county auditor to publish request for proposal for professional legal services. Is there a motion?
So move. Approve.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 8 is planning and zoning notices. There are none. Item number 9 is petition for compromise of lien. DPNO, item A is DPNO number 26778 in the amount of $977.34. Good morning.
Good morning, Melinda Storley, Commission Assistant. This lien represents public defender fees recorded from June 29, 1995 to March 3, 2004. The applicant and her ex-spouse were divorced September 28, 1994. All of the lien amounts have been confirmed as fees for services that were incurred solely by her ex-spouse. The applicant is requesting to be removed from the joint lien with no payment, leaving the full amount of the lien in the name of her ex-spouse.
Are there any questions for Melinda? Is the applicant present for comments? No. Commission, looking for action.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Melinda. Item number B is DPNO 80210 in the amount of $2,511.96, which was deferred from February 6, 2018. The applicant has withdrawn her application, and so we can just move on. So thank you.
Thank you very
Melinda.
much.
Next, we have the
I'd just like to comment on that one.
Barth.
Last week, they were asking for relief from this lien with no payment whatsoever. This week, they say they can pay it. It just is a little concerning to me that we don't demand enough from the applicants, and we should probably more often ask for some payment along with a compromise. I just want to make that comment.
Thank you, Commissioner Byrd. Okay, with that, we'll go on for opportunity of public comment. If there's anyone here who would like to speak to something that is not on the agenda, you'd identify yourself and keep your comments to 5 minutes.
Good morning, Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. I really enjoyed learning this morning and last meeting about the building situation and the sale of the building over on West. And, you know, it was very fascinating, and I appreciated that chance to be here this morning to be part of this and to see what possibilities we can do with correcting the election tabulating process, which, if some of you remember, I was the chairman of the Election Review Committee, and we went through this whole process of trying to figure out how to streamline the process so we could actually get it properly tabulated. And so I appreciate the effort that you're all going through being here at 7:30 in the morning to discuss it. And during the second part of the discussion this morning, it occurred to me Maybe the people in this room don't know that when this building, the administration building, was built back in 1961, that it was designed to have 2 more floors put on it. And I didn't know if any of you knew about this or even had realized it, but I had met the architect many, many years ago. And I've been a building geek, so I love architecture. I wish I had the smarts to be an architect, but I've always loved the way that people can do these things. And they were very proud of the fact that this building could grow. And there was a discussion many years ago about the state's attorney's office and all of the files that they used to have to store in this building, and the potential, weight of the building, because there was some sagging in some areas. And so, that's how I ended up getting into that part of the discussion. The foundation supposedly is designed to have the 2 more floors on here. And I just want to make sure that you all go back and look at the old drawings. I visited when I was doing the Stop the Funding petition drive last year, or in 2016, this man's daughter drove down here to the administration building so she could sign my petition. And she reminded me of this discussion that we'd had years before, and that her father was extremely proud of the ability for this building to grow. And she says, nobody's remembering it. So I'm just trying to bring back a little institutional memory of this wonderful building we're in. So thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I was not aware of that. So I don't know if anyone else was either. So thank you for your comments. Additional comments?
Morning, Commissioners. Jay Buckles, Sioux Valley Energy. Just here to observe this morning, but I just wanted to remind folks about Sioux Valley Energy serving about 25,000 members in Minnehaha, Lincoln, Moody, Brookings counties. I'm relatively new to our cooperative. My role is to be a single point of contact for those commercial and industrial members, ranging from farmers' elevators around the territory, value-added ag facilities, manufacturing, data centers, and 2 ethanol plants in our service territory. I was recently at a cooperative energy conference, and some of the big takeaways have been economic development in our rural areas and also electronic vehicles being more readily available in smaller to medium-sized markets around the country. It'll be incumbent upon utilities and electric cooperatives to prepare and expand our infrastructure for the future energy demands and needs. If you as commissioners have any questions regarding our cooperative, please contact Jay Buckles at Sioux Valley Energy in our Brandon office. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay, for coming. Jesse? You better say hi.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Jesse Fonkert. I have the pleasure of serving as the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Director in Hartford. Just coming out here to say hi and thank you for all the work you do for our county. A few updates on Hartford. Our town is growing very quickly, not as quick as some other towns in neighboring counties, but quickly enough that we can manage the growth. Hartford has a population of around 3,200 as of 2017. We have several developments in the works in 2018, including a new road, Mickelson Road, on our south side of town that will open up development. About 150 new residential lots, along with commercial and multifamily housing along Highway 38. And we have another one opening up hopefully this summer north of Highway 38, close to the golf course, of an additional 50 lots. So we'll have 6 subdivisions open, I believe, hopefully the end of 2018 is the plan. Of course, these things work. There's always bumps in the road, so fingers crossed. We are very lucky to be experiencing some of the side effects of growth in Sioux Falls. A lot of our folks come from small towns, like myself, that want to live in a major metropolitan area, major being in South Dakota terms, and live in a small town and enjoy the benefits of Sioux Falls. And so Hartford fits the need for many of those people. Going forward, I hope we can find ways to work with the county to make sure that growth outside of our territory is happening in a efficient manner. I know our Broward edition outside of, I shouldn't say our, the county's Broward edition outside of Hartford is been a trouble spot, I believe, that Commissioner Barth has talked about before. And one problem we've kind of seen happen there recently is this is kind of weird to say, a junk dealer or a car junk, I don't know the exact term you would call it, a junkyard is being formed out there right now. And I know our city administrator contacted the commission or the staff here about that problem. I don't know if there's been a permit that's been filed on behalf of that person or not, but our city was not aware of it happening until we drove out there and saw the cars being hauled into that spot. So one thing to be on your table, I know you want to see that place cleaned up. We do very much as well, and I think we can find ways to do that together. So any questions you have for me?
I don't think so. Thank you, Jesse,
Madam
for
Chair.
coming. Commissioner Barth.
Thank you for coming, and certainly the Brower subdivision has been on my periphery of awareness these many years. And there does seem to be some opportunity for the road district there to take charge of it. I know I've had complaints from people who are paying taxes for the road district. But you're also talking about building another road south of town there?
Yes.
Does that go west from the county highway then?
So what'll be happening right now is at Mickelson Road, which is on the southeastern border of Hartford. Part of it is gravel, part of it is paved. And so this is all north of the interstate
Okay.
still. And there's housing development on there right now. So right now it goes from pretty much what would be our Western Avenue to Highway 38 on that southern portion of town. What's going to happen is that they're going to vacate some of the right-of-way on the eastern part of it and then take it down a little bit. There is a developer, Sam Aston Properties owns a development on that area, about 150 acres of land. I think it's about 150. And we will be taking the road into his property, and he'll be developing it out towards the southeast. So if you see Hartford on a map, there's a little kind of chunk on the southeast side of it. That'll be developed out going forward.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm actually going to be meeting with Jesse in the chamber this next week, Thursday, to have coffee at 7 o'clock in the morning. So thank you for the invitation. And
We
look forward
appreciate it.
to going. So
Thank you so
I believe
much.
Jay's going to be there too. So, all right. Anyone else for public comment? All right. For that, we'll go on with regular business. Item number 10 is a presentation by the Director of Information Technology Department, Monty Wattenbach, and you can probably talk about that new form we looked at today.
Yeah, we will talk about that a little bit. Good morning, Commissioners. Monty Wattenbach, Minnehaha County IT Director. I appreciate the opportunity to give you an update today. We've got a lot of new exciting things happening here at the county. I'm going to try to move through this relatively quickly, so if you miss something, please feel free to ask questions. So I want to start off with just kind of a list of completed projects. So as you know, we developed the case management software for our state's attorney. That has been in place for actually a little over a year, but I felt it was right on the brink to at least discuss and talk about that. We're still doing some enhancements and modifications to that. Our focus recently has been related to the Zerker interface between Zerker Technologies and the state's attorney case manager, so we can electronically bring over documents into that system. And as we go forward, there's other enhancements and features. The civil group has asked us to make some changes to that so that it fits their needs, so there will be ongoing enhancements to that. The video management solution, which we refer to typically as the media manager, is a solution that integrates in with the state's attorney's case manager, the public defender's case manager, public advocates. So video that comes from patrol cars or potentially surveillance video from a store, what have you, can be loaded into that system. And the attorneys, their user experience is they open a case. That case has people associated with it, defendants, victims, and in that case is documents, video, court dates, everything that they need for that case bundled all into one solution. So those two different pieces, the state's attorney case manager and the video management solution, work together as one solution. Recently, then we've been dealing with how do we take all this video that we keep putting into this media manager, and how do we keep it long-term in case someone needs to refer to a video for, let's say, an appeal, years and years down the line. So we originally were trying to brainstorm how do we take video and delete videos that we don't think we're going to need in the future, yet maintain videos for someone that may come back on an appeal and we need to have that video. So we developed a way where we can, based on the closed date of the state's attorney case manager software, we can archive that video to what we call cold storage. It's really just low-cost, cheap disk that once it fills up, we put it into a secure location. It's labeled properly. The system knows what disk that video went on. So retrieving that video is very easy to do, and we've started that here several months ago. It's worked very well. So it will allow us to, at a very low cost, keep all the videos that have been brought into that system. Instead of deleting those videos, we're just going to archive them out to cold storage so that any point in time in the future, if state's attorney says we need to get to this video from this case that's 5 years old, we'll be able to do that. With my staff, we developed that media manager with the ability to archive, and that's, as we move forward, going to save a lot of money in those network storage costs. Next item on the list there, the property tax abatement application. We had a group of departments come to us here several months back, and those departments have kind of seen what we've done with other applications, and they've asked us to create an electronic workflow for the property tax abatements. So we developed that application, and it kind of works like this. Instead of those abatements physically routing from the auditor's office to equalization, to attorneys, to potentially the city attorneys, city council, back. If you can imagine that being a physical document going to all of those places, there's lots of opportunities for that document to get hung up, lost. It's underneath someone's pile of papers in their desk. So it wasn't a very efficient process. Now that that application has been developed, the whole thing is electronic. So as soon as the auditor's office is done with their task, they change the office that abatement is assigned to. That shows up in their dashboard. They're going to get email alerts telling them, hey, you need to go in and look. You have new abatements to attend to. They go in, look at the abatements. And most groups outside of yourself, they don't physically sign the abatement anymore. They electronically sign it. So our state's attorney's office, for example, they would look at the abatement, make sure that it's legally sufficient. They mark it as legally sufficient. They can put comments in if they want, and they electronically click a button to basically acknowledge that they have reviewed that abatement, and then that abatement moves on to the next department. So it's speeding up the process. I hope you find the form better. I was a little bit concerned when Jeff brought that up this morning that maybe he didn't like it, but
I liked it, I just didn't remember I was getting it.
So anyways, after that gets signed, it's going to electronically, it'll be scanned into the system. It will be noted that it was approved or what have you with any comments that might be relevant. And then those abatements will live in the system where that documentation is there associated with a parcel. So anybody that opens up a parcel using the parcel manager, which is the next application on the list, would be able to look up abatements, or they could just look up a parcel, and as they're looking at that parcel, they could see if there's have ever been any abatements that have applied to that. So those two are tied together, the abatements and that parcel manager. Parcel manager is on this list. It is a current, and I have it listed here as a completed project. It will be a work in progress. But that parcel manager basically is allowing us to evolve off of a AS400 based system that has been in place for decades. There's a lot of things that are integrated into it. It's a very complicated system to evolve out of. So this parcel manager gives us a way to do that. So the application itself is a modern Windows application, and as we move forward, some of the database pieces of that application will move from the AS400 to SQL, but that front-end application will be the same end-user experience that it is today. So right now that parcel manager really is just a read-only application other than the abatement piece. But with time, that's where our departments will go to make any sort of changes that may relate to a parcel. Next item on the list is a firewall upgrade. In 2017, we upgraded our firewall. I felt it was worth mentioning in this presentation. We went through the work of evaluating the best products on the market, and we actually changed from the vendor that we were using prior to a new vendor. And that was kind of a step for us. Would have been a lot easier to just keep the same vendor in place, but we felt it appropriate to look at the market. And now we have a much more modern firewall in place, better logging. I think I've relayed to you before. In a typical second, we can block 20 malicious network connections in a typical second. Some of those coming from foreign countries, some of them from here in the United States. And then last item, new and improved spam filtering software. This is an on and on cat and mouse game. So we took the effort to improve our spam filtering. The analogy I like to use is in that cat and mouse game, we just bought a newer, faster cat. It's not going to catch everything, but it's going to help. Current projects. Oh, thanks, Trish. Sorry. I'll let you flip that back. Current projects. The first two items on the list are very large projects. Our Tyler ERP project and our Zerker public safety software project. I do not recommend any county to do both of those projects at the same time. That being said, the go-live dates for those are just offset enough that we're going to make that work. So the Tyler project is a very tight timeline here for the first two phases of that, which will go live in May. The financial and the property tax portion of that. We feel that we're on target for that, but there's no wiggle room left in that schedule for that project. We've taken every hour of the time that the vendor has allocated towards us on that project. So we feel that we're on schedule, but we have no wiggle room left in the schedule. The payroll aspect of that project will start in give or take July of this year, and we'll go live in July of 2019. And like I have noted, the Zerker Public Safety Software Project goes live February 28th. I guess kudos to all of the different groups that have been a part of that project, from Metro Communications, who's training right next door here with Zerker Technologies here this week, to the City of Sioux Falls, has been a great partner in this project. JDC, the City of Brandon. I'm probably missing somebody, but there's been a lot of effort put into this. It's a very complicated multi-agency project. The vendor has been very good to work with, and like I said, our go live for that is February 28th. So there's going to be a very large data conversion. It'll take about 24 hours, and there will be a go live in the morning of February 28th, just here in a few weeks. Yep.
Can we back up and help me understand? So you talked about Tyler and how you've taken all the wiggle room out of your schedule. So what happens if it doesn't go live in May?
Yeah, so if we were in a situation where we felt we had to if we had to change that go live date, we'd have to work with the vendor to try to figure out what dates work for them, what dates work for us, how does it affect our staffing, how does it affect the timing and the data migration and all of that. So it's something that you don't want to do, but at the same time, if you get into a situation where we feel that we're not ready, or there's aspects of it that aren't working quite right, that's a realistic risk that we have to be able to deal with.
Okay, thanks.
So the items that are probably, in my mind, the most risky is just that integration in between the property tax software and the financial software. So that's something that's really on that vendor to make work, but even though it's one company, Tyler Technologies, the tax software and the financial software, two different products by that same company. So they're interfacing them for us. It hasn't been done before. They're confident they can do it, but we haven't seen that yet. So we're not that far away from go live. So that's an example. And with all these projects, there are risks. With the Zerker project, we could have a catastrophic ice storm on February 25th. We've talked through those scenarios. If we have a catastrophic ice storm on February 25th, you know, the sheriff and the chief of police and the metro director, they might have real concerns of trying to move forward with that. So there's all these risks that we look at, evaluate, and so you have a tentative go live date and you do everything you can to meet that, but realistically you have to be at least have conversations about the alternatives. The payroll portion of that Tyler project, we haven't even started that phase of the project. Between Kim Adamson and myself, and Carol was a part of the conversations. We had to move that phase of the project back because it was supposed to start here in February, March. There's no time on Kim's calendar or my calendar to now throw a whole nother phase of that project on. As you know, when it comes to some of these things like the financial software, there's not a whole lot of extra staff. So we run out of bandwidth, quite frankly, to really do too many of those projects in parallel. Okay, I did mention on the PowerPoint here PC and tablet rollout. So every year we replace approximately 1/5 of our computers here at the county, and this year will be really no different. We are starting to roll out more tablets. That is really a reflection of the state's attorney and public defender case management software. With those tablets, they're able to take them to court and have access to all of that information, police reports, everything from within the courtroom. Security updates. I mentioned this just because we've kind of been hit with a lot of vulnerabilities between Microsoft and Intel. There's just a lot of time and effort that's going into patching Windows computers and coping with those security updates. So it's nothing that we can really push to the back burner. We have to keep working through those things along with the other projects that we have. And network infrastructure, I mentioned this, you know, just because, you know, we kind of start taking network infrastructure for granted, and we really focus on the applications. But the network infrastructure that we have in place and we need to continue to upgrade and maintain is critical for us to have a secure, reliable network in order for those applications to work. If we don't have a reliable infrastructure, then we're not going to have reliable applications. And I could give you a screenshot about having 99.999 something % uptime. To be honest with you, I don't know how many nines we have, but I will tell you that we have very reliable network. We don't have major network downtime here at the county very often at all. Future opportunities. I kind of just listed a few applications here that are on the top of my mind, some of the bigger ones. So we still do have a couple of large AS400 based applications, one of them being our lean application. There are really not vendor products out there that do what we do when it comes to liens. That's an application I'm pretty certain at this point, as we've discussed it internally, that we'll end up developing because there's really not that many solutions out there. Highway cost accounting solution. You know, ideally, you know, up front we were hoping that the Tyler software would have met their needs, but the Highway Department was part of those presentations and that RFP process, and for various different reasons, highway cost accounting it's just more unique and is going to need a different, unique solution for them. It remains to be seen if that will be a purchase solution or in-house developed. Right now, we don't have the bandwidth to really go down that road at this point. The PET application I mentioned is just another application that we'll have to rewrite. It was written in Microsoft Access. Every time my techs put a new version of Microsoft Office or Windows on those computers in the planning department, we have to kind of babysit that thing and make sure that it behaves properly. At some point, that PET application will be just all the features that are in it, which are mostly related to permits, will probably be rolled into that parcel manager. We're going to try to consolidate everything that relates to a property back into that parcel manager to kind of make it a one-stop shop where you would find all the permits, tax information, abatements, all of those kinds of things. And as we go through and we develop applications, the reporting is probably the one thing that kind of takes a back seat. Usually we're focusing on the functionality of that application. And there's been some applications, Human Services, I think, is one where we've put a fair amount of effort into creating a lot of reports for them based mostly on their request. And we probably have some catch up to do in some other areas related to reporting. And always ongoing infrastructure. Network switches will be something we'll be tackling over the next couple of years to make sure, again, that we're maintaining that secure, reliable network. So this slideshow, I've shown one similar to this in the past. When I'm talking about AS400 applications, they're typically like this screen at the top here. Sometimes they might have a little front end that makes it a little bit, more user-friendly, but those applications run on a IBM solution that is the hardware operating system database, and then this client application, which our younger workforce that comes in and looks at this screen on the top and they don't even know what to do with it. But we also have employees here at the county that have been here for decades, and they can type tab through these applications very fast, very efficiently. So that challenges us when we're developing applications to make sure that those strong keyboard people don't get frustrated that they always have to go to the mouse. So it's a balancing act. We can't always necessarily have everything the exact same way as those old applications. From a keyboarding perspective, there's going to be some balance, but anyway, we spend, we've talked in the past a lot how those old applications are old and they're bad, and while they are difficult to navigate, there's been a lot of effort that has went into those old applications that when we're redeveloping, those users oftentimes are challenging us. Well, we had this feature and we had this and we were able to do this. So it's good for us to have that challenge, and that allows us to create a better product when we're developing those applications. So I've kind of talked about, our Tyler and Zerker projects. I've talked about some in-house applications that we've developed. So I just kind of wanted to touch on what goes into that decision making when it comes to, do we purchase software or do we develop software? So just some thoughts on that. First, does a good software solution exist? Can we actually purchase one? There's some situations where, well, there's products out there, but they're not very good. Migrating data is going to be very difficult because their database structure is so much different than ours. And in some situations, like our Lean application, there's just not products out there that do that. So in some situations, we have to develop it because there's just not something out there. So when we're looking at those vendors, do those vendors have a large market share? Do they have good references? I've got a lot of government news groups that I'm a part of. It's pretty easy to work with those, go into those news groups and kind of throw out those questions to IT folks from around the nation that work at other cities and counties to try to get an idea for what is working for those other governments and what isn't. So that's another way in which I can go out and get feelers for those applications. And then the next item there, can we migrate data from our legacy system into a new application? I kind of inherited a situation when I came here at the county where there was a solution that we weren't going to be able to migrate data. The application itself was very disappointing. It was kind of unstable. It was a small company. It was a bad situation to be in. We're not in those kind of situations anymore. I take a proactive approach on trying to determine what's the best approach? Developing it in-house, purchasing it, if we're going to purchase it. I ask these various different questions here and try to make the right decision for the county moving forward. And being able to migrate data, almost all of the applications that we're developing, if there's that AS400 data, we're migrating that data into it. You could take, for example, our public safety software. When the city and the county put that in back in 2004, data was not migrated. So between 2004 and now, there's people that still go back and look at that historical public safety information that's 2004 and older. There's still folks that are doing that today. Some of the folks from the police department are still going back. So for that very specific reason, when we're developing new applications like we did for state's attorney, we have to migrate their data. It's not good for them and it's not good for us if they have to go back into that old system to look up people, charges, any sort of history that they might want to look up. So it's critical for us to move that information over into a new system. And to be honest with you, it's easier to do in an in-house developed application than it is in a purchased application. In a purchased application, well, we don't have this field. Well, we don't have that. Well, the database design might be just so different, where we can customize our application and bring that data over. And back to the New World stuff, we're still dealing with that challenge of those users wanting to go back and look at that pre-2004 public safety information. Okay, and then how resource intensive is the vendor solution? To be honest with you, most of the vendor solutions we look at, they require 2, 3, 4 servers. When we're developing applications, it's a client application and a database in the back end. So from my perspective, it's a lot more efficient typically how we're doing it. Regarding the in-house skill set, we have the in-house skill set to develop software. We're fortunate. The county has for years. It's evolved a lot in the past 7 years to developing in Windows applications. For small counties, that's probably a really big step up to developers. For us, we've had those developers for a long time. Like I said, they're evolving, and it's been a lot of fun to watch over the last 7 years. A couple other considerations as far as risk going along with in-house development. I recognize sometimes when we have employees that have a very high workload, a very unique skill set, and high institutional knowledge, those are concerns of mine, and I do my best to try to distribute that workload, try to spread that skill set and institutional knowledge. And then as far as user expectations, to be honest with you, when our users have very high expectations, we're probably better off with in-house developed software because we can give them what they want, not try to make their business function in a canned software's solution. Okay, so I'm going to go through these relatively quickly because I've probably eaten up most of my time. In-house developed applications, so our timesheet application has been in place for quite a few years. Human Services was one of the first applications, large department applications that we did, working with Carol at that time. Carrie and their team was a great first project to really change that department. Public defender, state's attorney case manager, a media manager that integrates in with it. The document management application that we have really integrates in with a big chunk of our in-house developed applications. So the document manager allows us to integrate with state's attorney case manager so they can scan and attach documents. Same with HRIS, so again, they can take the HR department can take any sort of personnel documents and associate them with an employee. So it's been a fantastic application. Staff Action Manager, which is basically a performance evaluation application along with the Staff Action Staff Action Manager, I guess is the name of that application. So that's been in place for several years. I mentioned HRS, the Human Resource application. MC Search is used by mainly law enforcement to do things like vehicle plate searches, searches for parcels to give a subset of information. lien reporting application, which basically takes information from public defenders and human services to create a lien report that ultimately creates the liens for those folks. And then a whole nother list here. I feel like I'm kind of running out of time here. So I'm not going to go through all of them. The abatement application, you saw the form here today. And I talked a little bit about that process. I've talked about a few of these other ones. I'm not going to go through all of them unless there's one that you'd like to ask about. Okay, and the last one here, I will mention there's an application on that last list. I shouldn't have skipped all of them. There is one called the SO contract hours. So you may be aware that our sheriff's office contracts out to cities within the county for patrol service. So they have to maintain a presence in that community for yay many hours per month. Well, prior to us developing an application, there is a complex, convoluted array of spreadsheets that the officers would say, I was in this community for this amount of time, and I was in this community for this amount of time. And at the end of the month, it never worked. And Trish from my staff was kind of the person who tried to make that work the best that she could, but at the end of every month, there's somebody that didn't have something right, and it was a mess to manage. So really, it was Trish that came to us as myself and the development team and said, is there something you can do to make this better? So now when that patrol officer goes into a community, they've got a little client app on their mobile computer, and they log into it. We know who they are, so they just say, I'm in Del Rapids. Yep, this is the right time. They can edit it in case they forgot to do it right away, but they just say, yep, I'm in Del Rapids, start, and then when they leave, they say, I'm checked out of this community, so it's kind of like punching in, punching out almost. That electronically keeps track of that. They can put notes with it if they want, and then all of that information feeds up to, this is more of a management application here, and I really love this front screen. That's why I put it on my presentation. This is about a week into the month, and you can see the green there. That's how many hours have been spent in that community out of the total contracted hours. So at the end of the month, the patrol sergeant can go into this dashboard here and very easily, without reading a whole bunch of individual cells to look at numbers to see if they are where they need to be, just looking at this dashboard, he can very easily see if there are any communities that they're going to be short on, or if they've had all their hours, met all their hours in a community. So I love the visual representation that you get and that the sheriff's office gets in order to see if they've met their contracted obligation in those communities. It also then has reports, because all that information was collected back on the date and time and any notes they may have had in that community. So it's very easy for them to create a report to say, we were in your community. Here's the officer that was there and the date and the time, all logged and reported for that purpose. So, a lot of talking. I'm certainly open for questions. I do want to wrap up by saying, since I've been here for the last 7 years, the IT department actually has 1 fewer staff than we did when I started. We will not be requesting any new staff in 2018 for 2019. The IT budget request will maintain relative small increases related to software costs and normal personnel costs. We typically see that the costs that we're seeing from software vendors is something that goes up over time. Hardware stays relatively stable. So that's really where our increases in cost come from. It's just software, whether it's in-house developed dealing with staff or whether it's purchased software, everybody's paying that increased cost for employees. But when it comes to hardware, it's relatively flat. Any questions?
Commissioner Bender.
Monty, I don't have any questions. First of all, I wouldn't understand your answers anyway, so More importantly, I'd say the privilege of working with him as a liaison for a number of years, and his leadership and his team are incredible. I mean, if you think about all the things that he has on his plate, all the things that he's done to bring efficiencies and labor savings and maintained operations over the years with less people, it's pretty incredible. And not only that is when everybody else is talking about cybersecurity and Russians and whatever else they want to talk about, or the system goes down and payroll doesn't work, that's when the phone starts ringing and the Metro people can't answer calls and all that kind of stuff. He has kept all that together, and we're really fortunate, and we don't get to tell him that very often, but we're really fortunate to have him here and the people that he works with as part of that group, because what he's done is frankly awesome and incredible. It occasionally can be boring when I'm talking to him, but more importantly, it all works. And that's a high compliment as I can give you. I can't think of anybody else I've ever worked with that can do all those things with less people and accomplish more and then have such a significant benefit to the county. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'm going to pile on and echo that.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, you and your staff have just been fantastic. It's evident from what we can look at. I mean, we can have all the data in the world, but unless that data makes sense, it just doesn't go anywhere. I checked February 25th. The forecast looks okay.
That's
So you didn't curse yourself, hopefully, so that should work out too. And when we talk about the data and everything that IT does, and we talk about collaboration between governments, I mean, that's what it all comes back to, all these different systems that need to talk to each other, and it's a mess if they don't. So appreciate your work, and keep it up.
Thank you very much.
And also, I wrote on here to thank you for your leadership. Monty came just before Gerald and I came, and a lot of things have changed in the last 7 and a couple months. Since we came, we had a kind of a mess for we're getting the ERP system to update a lot of our software, and I know that was a huge fear when we came in, and the budget was already a mess, and we had no money to even pay for what we were going to move forward. And you look back 7 years now, how much we've done. We've gone from stacks of paper every commission meeting to an iPad with our material, which is at home. And I mean, you think of the efficiencies and the amount of money we've saved in some of the different software developments that have happened here, and it's been extremely exciting for me to see what the county has done. And I'm the same with Gerald. I don't understand it all. When you talked about shelving, when I was your liaison, I'm thinking he's got all these shelves. I said, where are these shelves? So it tells you how much I understood. But I've learned a lot, and I appreciate what you do. So thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation.
Yep, thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity, and it has been a lot of fun for me, too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, with that, we will go on to item number 11, which is consider a resolution for legislative support for House Bill 1294 and House Bill 1308 to address the impact of alcohol on local and state governments. Jeff Barr.
Madam Chair, Craig has helped me write up a resolution on this. I think most of you know that I've been a long time advocate for increasing the taxes on alcohol, especially to cover our costs as a county. I can say that I am not the originator of this thinking. When I came to the commission, Carol Tweet, Ann Hayek, Jim Zweep, the others had already done this and already pushed this without enough success, alas. Another organization, not the counties, an organization I'm part of, the South Dakota Alcohol Policy Alliance, found sponsors for these bills, and we've got them in the legislature this year. And my hope would be that we could pass something in this area, and the support of our county, other counties, Lincoln, Pennington, whatever, it seems to me to be really part of the key. My hope would be that the sheriff would support it, that the State's Attorneys Association would support it. We don't have the money to treat people for these addiction issues. We put them in jail, we put them in prison. They don't come out any better. They've just come out after a long period of, hopefully, abstinence. but it's not enough to fix our problems. And our jails are full of people who used alcohol as a gateway drug to their abysmal lives that they currently have. And I cannot say everything. You've heard me rant on this in the past, and I could certainly go on. I would be happy to be voted out as county commissioner this November if I could stand on the mountain and see the promised land where taxes are equalized and people are who drink are paying for the cost of that product. Right now, we are subsidizing the liquor business with property taxes. If it was even neutral, if it was even where the cost of alcohol in our community was covered by alcohol, it would be more than 25 cents a drink. It would probably be more like $1 or $2 a drink. And this is just a modest effort. 2 years ago, Senate Bill 2 gave us a share of alcohol excise tax money, giving Minnehaha County $600,000. We probably need $12 million to cover the costs of alcohol in our community. And that still wouldn't give us the money we need to do the treatment and mental health coverage that we need. Few people do methamphetamines first. And we talk about the drugs causing so much crime in our community. That's absolutely true. But locking people up has not worked, and we need to do a better job. I would ask my fellow commissioners to support these bills as we go forward in our legislature, and please cut me off here.
Commissioner Barth, would you kindly read Minnehaha County Resolution 18, and then we can vote on that one, and then we can have you read the other? No?
Do you want me to read the first resolution?
I'm looking to Olivia here.
Oh, sorry.
It's
It's
not
not-
Resolution 18. We put numbers after it's approved.
Oh, okay. So if you would read the resolution, in the first one in here, and then we can vote on the first one, and then you can read the second one.
MC 18?
She said that isn't what we call it, but support of resolution passage of House Bill 1294.
Okay.
If you would read that first.
Whereas alcohol consumption is a significant cost driver in public safety costs, and whereas the consumers of alcohol should bear the public safety and criminal costs associated with alcohol use, therefore be it resolved by the Minnehaha County Commission that South Dakota codified law be amended during the 2018 legislative session to pass HB 1294, which would increase the taxes on alcohol by 5 cents per drink, with the revenue being directed to county government. Do you want the supporting criteria?
I think so. You have to read the whole
Hey.
document, I believe.
Justification for the resolution. Alcohol consumption is the cause of many public safety and health-related costs borne by county government. Consumers of alcohol should bear the burden to fund public safety and criminal justice budget increases due to the relationship between alcohol consumption and the increased public safety and health-related costs. We need more commas in here. It's unfair to shift the tax burden from costs related to alcohol intake to property owners across the county. HB 1294 would help alleviate the tax shift that results when property owners are asked to pay for costs related to alcohol consumption. Counties affected by this resolution? All South Dakota counties. Impact of the resolution? If passed, HB 1294 would increase the tax on alcohol by 5 cents per drink, with revenue being directed to county government to offset increasing public safety costs. Dated Sioux Falls, South Dakota, this 13th day of February.
Okay, and I would look for a motion to approve.
I would make that motion.
A second? Second. I have a motion and a second to approve the first resolution. All those in favor say.
Comment?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
If I could, first of all, Commissioner Barth, thank you for bringing this, and I'm sure that there's somebody out there, more than a few people out there, that could poke all sorts of holes in, what's a drink, and define this and define that, but it's a start. I mean, it truly is. We look at our public safety costs, part of our budget going up by, 10% a year just about to take care of a lot of the issues that are created by this. So it opens a conversation. We've all been places and traveled. Most alcohol taxes around even the region are double and triple what we are here in Sioux Falls. So it's a great way to at least start the conversation and move it forward. So, thank you.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the first resolution. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Barth, I would have you read the second resolution, which supports House Bill 1308.
You want me to read the second one too here? Let me find it here.
If you can't find it, I can do it.
I've got it. This is supporting the passage of House Bill 1308, which increases the excise tax on alcohol. I'm looking at the wrong one again. Sorry.
They're both the same.
It says the same thing here, though. It's got to be 1308 increases it
It's not listed here. Do you have it with you?
25 cents.
There was a typographical error.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I can read it.
but is this the right one? Yes, this is the right one. It just, the top part is wrong. It's for House Bill. Is that right?
1308.
1308. Okay, okay,
The House bill number is correct.
yes.
You wanted
Yes,
me
the
to
House, yeah, the House Bill number is
Love
correct,
my
and the
voice.
resolution is correct, that alcohol, it's actually for 25 cents.
would
per drink.
increase the excise tax on alcohol by 25 cents per drink.
Yes.
Whereas alcohol consumption is a significant cost driver for public safety and criminal justice costs, and whereas the consumer of alcohol should bear the public safety and criminal justice costs associated with alcohol use. Therefore, be it resolved by the Minnehaha County Commission that South Dakota codified law be amended during the 2018 legislative session to pass HB 1308, which would increase taxes on alcohol by 25 cents per drink, with revenue being directed to state, municipal, and county government. Supporting criteria. Justification for the resolution. Alcohol consumption is the cause of many safety and health-related costs borne by county government. Consumers of alcohol should bear the burden to fund public safety and criminal justice budget increases due to the relationship between alcohol consumption and the increased public safety and health-related costs. It's unfair to shift the tax burden from costs related to alcohol to property tax owners across the county. House Bill 1308 would help alleviate the tax shift that results when property owners are asked to pay for costs related to alcohol consumption. Counties affected by the resolution, all counties. Impact of the resolution, if passed, HB 1308 would increase excise tax on alcohol by 25 cents per drink, with the revenue directed to state, county, and municipal governments to offset increasing public safety costs and criminal justice costs. Dated this 13th day of February.
Commissioner Barth, you want to make a motion
I will make that motion.
and a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution on House Bill 1308. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. I believe I mentioned last week that the State Association has taken this on as a lobbying position, and they will also be lobbying in support of this. All right, with that, we'll go on to the next item, which is item 12. Authorize the Director of the Facilities Department to sign a letter of termination with the current cleaning contractor's institutional services. Yeah. Carol Muller. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carol Muller, Commission Office Staff. Yes, Mark Krenz, who would be signing the letter, is not able to join us today to present this, which is why you have me in front of them. Several weeks ago, you authorized the publishing of an RFP for authorizing the publication of an RFP for cleaning services. That occurred. You've awarded that contract. You're working through that. And at this particular point, it is just to go through and terminate the contract with the current company that we have, which is ISS.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 4-1 abstaining, I guess. Item number 13 is authorize the chairman to sign a contract between Augustana Research Institute and Minnehaha County for pretrial service evaluations. Aaron Srtska. Oh, Aaron was just here. Carol, there she is. Sorry. I knew you were just here.
Good morning, Erin Srtska, Minnehaha County Commission Office. Today I have a contract with Augustana Research Institute to do monthly, quarterly, and annual reporting, do data collection management, and then do an evaluation of the first year of our pretrial going live. It's important that we make data-driven decisions and data-driven policy and keep our thumb on the pulse of how things are operating, especially in the first year. So with your guys' approval, we can get the contract signed and get to work.
Okay. Any questions for Aaron? Is there a motion?
Approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 14 is authorize the chairman to sign a contract between Sage Project Consultants and Minnehaha County for services in support of the Community Triage Center Innovation Grant Competitive Grant Project.
What I'm asking for today is approval of the contract with Sage Consulting. A few months ago, we submitted an application and we were approved to receive $18,750 from the state of South Dakota to help implement crisis response in our community. A portion of this funding is going to be used to continue the work that we've started with our community triage project to facilitate an additional 7 meetings during the grant period. We call it phase 2, to be able to take the pilot project and be able to plan how we can get that up and going. So with your approval, we can sign it and get some meetings on the calendar.
Is there a motion on this contract?
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Aaron. Item number 15 is considered 3 proposals for brokerage services for the 908 Northwest Avenue building and approve a candidate to sell the land and the property. Craig Dewey, good morning.
Good morning, Craig Dewey, Commission Office. The item before you today are the results from the RFP that was submitted for brokerage services. That was opened up on February 7th at 10:30 in the morning, and in that process leading up to the opening, we gave tours to 5 different firms. We had 3 submissions from firms represented here today, including Lloyd Companies, Nelson Commercial Real Estate, and NAI Commercial as well. And feel really good about the different submissions as far as the quality of each of the firms that are represented in those RFPs. This is for a process to sell the 908 building. It's located on 908 Northwest Avenue. That property was declared surplus last year, and after the bid process did not yield a successful outcome as far as accepting a result, you directed the Commission Office to prepare this RFP. So the 3 selection criteria for selecting the firm would be an understanding of the requirements of this project as evidenced by the proposal content, the individual's or firm's experience, qualifications, reputation, and any other criteria deemed to be significant to the committee. And then lastly, plan of operation and fee structure that would be most advantageous to Minnehaha County. Each of the brokerage firms are here to answer any questions of their proposals that you would have for them, and I would be also happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
Okay. If it's all right with the commission, I thought I would just have each, if you don't have a question for Craig right now, have each one of the different brokers come up, introduce themselves, and if they want to give, a few minutes comments, that would be good, and then maybe give the opportunity for the commission to ask some of those questions. So I'm just going to go in order of how they were listed in our presentation, and Lloyd Companies is listed first. If there's somebody here from Lloyd that wants to make a couple of comments, introduce yourself, and
Jordan Riefenberger and Alexis Constant with Lloyd Companies. Thank you for the opportunity. I would say, the bulk of the information's in our RFP, so I won't speak to too much of that. I think the biggest thing maybe that we looked at in comparison to the appraisal is the price. We're at $1.5 million as a recommended marketing price, which is significantly lower than the appraisal that you had. I think, in my personal opinion, the appraisal was done looking at a multi-tenant office building, which I think is probably the highest, best use for this property, but it's going to take significant renovation costs to get it to that point. So for my price to where that appraisal is about a $38 square foot investment a buyer is going to have to put into that building. Even at $38 a square foot, talking with our construction staff isn't, $1 million doesn't even go that far when you're looking at gutting a 30,000 square foot building, making it into a call center type space or, multi-tenant, and then just all the different things you're gonna have to do with the HVA system and things like that. So we're confident with kind of where we came in with that $1.5 million recommendation. Beyond that, I think our company can do a great job getting the maximum exposure for this property. You know, we're a part of all the different listing services that you can have to get it out to not only local, potential local buyers, but national and regional as well. Any questions? Be happy to answer them.
Do you have any questions at this point for Lloyd Properties? Okay, thank you. And I think next, I'm going to here so I don't do it wrong, but I think it was NAI, sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having us. I am Greg Brown.
I'm Dennis Bresky.
We are with NAI Sioux Falls Commercial, and we are excited to submit our proposal. We think there's a few things that set our team apart. We have in our shop over 10 agents and actively involved in selling and listing and commercial real estate that would be instrumental to marketing this property to their clients and hopefully bringing in a buyer, as well as Dennis and I and our list of clients and our track record here in Sioux Falls selling commercial property. The other thing that we think is also important is NAI is part of we are the local affiliate here for NAI Global, and so we have a reach of over 20 other offices here in the 11 surrounding states. So we're going to be able to broadly market this property to folks that are outside of Sioux Falls. It's potential that the buyer will be from Sioux Falls, but we want to give it a broad exposure because it's a unique asset set up currently for a facility with daycare, with a gym, with classrooms, and rather than necessarily gut the entire thing, we think that having a broader marketing approach and bringing in an outside buyer might be beneficial. Dennis, you wanted to say a few things?
I would just talk about, I think the first best user or buyer is a user buyer, someone that could use the building as it's currently configured. And we've had a few prospects. We have a few now that we're thinking about that we can get through there. And but it might be a partial user. It might be someone that just uses 10 or 12,000 square feet and they have their company or organization in there, and then they lease out the rest of the building. But an owner buyer is always a little bit better buyer than the investor buyer that Jordan was referring to in terms of what they're willing to pay. So hopefully we can identify one of those. That's what we will target, I guess, originally. Because Jordan is right, it will take an awful lot of money to convert it, to make it an income-producing property, and to have the numbers work with that scenario. But if we can find a user buyer that would live in there and have their business operate there, you know, we're hopeful that we can get a little bit higher number. Our estimate as to what prices we thought we could achieve were, I believe it was $1.8 million to 2.2. So that was our range of values, and that's, I think, the reason for the potential to get a little bit more is targeting the user buyer or an organization. You know, it could be something that's related to chemical dependency treatment again, or not necessarily that's what it was, but along those lines, some kind of behavioral health type of deal. We've had another juvenile service type of organization that had looked at it. So, but I think our team is the deepest in terms of experience. We have a lot of brokers and a lot of people that have a lot of experience, and we move a lot of real estate and have been doing that for a long time. We're a third-party brokerage company. All we do is list and sell property. We're not a development company. Our sole focus is to help various organizations and companies either buy or sell real estate. And so that's our sole focus, and we'll keep on doing that and hopefully have a chance to serve you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Bender has a
I
question.
just have one question. I probably should have asked Lloyd this as well. Would you guys be willing to exclude, you know, we had a sealed bid, so there was one buyer that came forward through that sealed bid. Would you guys be willing to exclude that entity from your listing agreement for a period of time?
I never do a total exclusion, but we would do a reduced fee. if that particular buyer were to come through, okay? And this is a quick story, I always tell it though. Early in my career, I listed a fourplex for $96,000, and the seller excluded one party. So then I brought him an offer for $96,000. He took my offer, went to the other buyer, and said, I'll sell it to you for 90 because I don't have to pay a commission. And he ended up selling it to the other guy, and I got zero, and I helped him sell the property. So I promised I would never do that again. But I have done it many times where we will do a reduced fee. We just did it on a building on West 12th Street where the seller excluded one party. I think we took 1.5%, you know, if that party came through. But we are going to motivate your buyer, and we're going to create competition, and we're going to do a lot of things to make them nervous. I mean, as soon as it goes on the market, if you have a buyer and they really want it, and we're working on it, and we're showing it, and we're bringing activity, that's going to improve your negotiating position quite a bit. So we're going to bring some value. A lot of times we will treat it like you're another realtor, okay? If we list it and another realtor brings us an offer, we would have to pay that other realtor 3%. But we can do a little bit better than that if you've got somebody that you want to exclude. And I don't know how the other firms handle that, but that's how we typically do it.
If I might follow on with Commissioner Bender's question. So how would you put that into contract language? Do you have a contract that would?
We'll just add
could
a
borrow
little
it?
sentence in the listing contract.
Okay, at 1.5%?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll talk.
if that party buys.
Thanks.
We should probably ask Lloyd that same question. Thank you. Lloyd's that same question, if you're able to answer that before we move on to.
We would consider the exclusion, and I think we know which one you're talking about. We look back in the meeting notes, and I mean, if you review our RFP, I think that was a good price, and you know, I understand that was a good deal, but if we would need our assistance in actually working and facilitating the due diligence on your behalf for that deal, then, you know, we would probably look to do a reduced fee as well, but it is something we consider just excluding. So.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Nelson.
Hi, my name is Ron Nelson with Nelson Commercial Real Estate.
Richard Thomason with Nelson Commercial Real Estate as well.
Thank you for the opportunity, and kudos to the commission as well as specifically Craig for just kind of getting us to this point. It doesn't come easy, and sometimes what a greater frustration than put something out there and you get no response. So you've got what I believe is 3 excellent firms that have responded, and 2 of them are you know, very good firm. One firm stands out as one that's been employed previously by the county successfully, and that is our firm. To compare and contrast a little bit just about firms, because they're all good firms and you're going to do fine either way. We're all good friends. We work together. We had a blast in the room. I think they were closing the doors to get us to calm down because it got a little loud in there. But my first 20 years in the business, I'm starting year 33 in the business. First 20 years I was with 2 of the larger firms in town and had a ball, but at some point I decided that I wanted to go small. I found that it created a lot of stress for me as a firm. The one question as a broker that you ask to your clients are asking of you often is the proverbial, what have you done for me lately? And when you have so many listings, it becomes unmanageable and it creates a lot of stress. And I'm not suggesting that a large firm with a lot of properties listed is a bad thing. These guys have got great track records and success. For us, we just went a different direction. Our firm currently has 16 listings on the market. NAI has 183 and Lloyd has 120. And good for them if they were able to manage it. I found it difficult, and so that's a couple of just distinguishing features between us as firms. Again, each of them have great positive attributes. We look forward to the opportunity of working for you again. We, again, as I mentioned, had a successful outcome with the surplus land on the around the Sanford campus, where right now the county museum collection facility is currently under construction. Our approach to this property was similar, probably most similar to Lloyd's, in that we took a different approach, and that was kind of start with the end in mind. In other words, if somebody is going to buy this, there is a possibility that somebody could use it in its current state, although I believe that to be a remote possibility. And so what we looked at instead was how much is the top level that a group could have invested in this property versus just going and buying another building or purchasing a piece of land and putting your own building up. I came up with about a $3 million value, and looking at those, we were just debating in the conference room when we were in there privately how many dollars we all, in our opinions, thought it would take to renovate that building. And that's always a rather difficult number to, it's educated guesswork is about what it is, because different people are going to, finish it to different levels. But I kind of figured about that $3 million is the top end as to what somebody would want totally invested in that building, all in, after they've done all of their improvements. And so then kind of in that $1.5 million range, I thought would probably be the renovation costs. And so that puts us right in about that $1.5 million valuation. We put in here our suggested asking price of $1,650,000. And then the subtitle to that is our expectation is that it would probably sell in that 1.4 to 1.5 neighborhood. I think we provided a lot of data that supported that. And again, not being critical of the appraisal, just in our opinion, just they were looking for different things than we were. But we'd be excited about this opportunity and look forward to the opportunity as well as answering any questions that you might have now.
Any questions for Mr. Nelson at this point?
Oh, and the exclusion
Yes.
thing, Gene?
Yeah.
Yes. We've handled, all of us have been in similar situations. I have stories similar to Dennis, as doing this 30 years, you're inevitably going to. It becomes kind of on the client in terms of how you want to do it. We've offered reduced fees before, and sometimes a client is saying, you know what, we don't really need you for that. We've already established a dialogue with these guys, so all you're doing is adding costs to us. And so what we've done is said, okay, you go out and have at it, and let's just pick a time that we're all comfortable with, be it 60 days, 90 days, whatever. And, we just won't do anything. It's hard for us as brokers, we work, all of us, on contingency. And so you've heard these firms, and we do the same. You put tremendous resources on our dime out there, putting properties out there, and to have somebody totally excluded, what it does after you've been burned a couple of times is you just don't do anything with it. You just sit on it if you're not going to get any fee. Sometimes clients say, we do have this prospect out there, but we would like your help. And so at that point, we would negotiate with you, be it 1.5 points or whatever, kind of more carefully identify the scope of services that you're looking for from us, but we would absolutely kind of work and try to tailor something that is customized to how you want it, rather than just throw out a blanket percentage or a blanket number. Maybe you're just saying, take this whole thing over. Probably would involve a little higher cost than 1.5%, because having a name only is only the beginning. And I recognize these folks have looked at the property, they've made an offer on it, but there's a lot of work in putting a deal together. And so I think we would attempt to structure a fee structure that's commensurate with the scope of services and work that you would like, and including nothing if you decide that, we'll just talk to these guys direct for 60 days, 90 days, whatever. If that doesn't work out, then we'll turn you loose. So that would be the flexibility that we'd try to offer you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Nelson?
Let me just say,
Commissioner Barrett?
Madam Chair, Ron, I appreciate your comment there. Wouldn't the one bidder that we've been speaking about probably sit on their hands until they saw we were about to sell it to somebody else, and then they would jump in and say, we'll give you, a little bit more than we've previously offered. And so 60 days may not be, there may not be any visitors' vehicles parked outside that place for the first 60 days. Whereas if you saw a bunch of, Amazon delivery center signs going up, suddenly there'd be, a lot more interest by the neighbors there. At the same time, we do worry about the idea of, you just picking the one buyer that we've already somewhat identified. It's, I don't know.
I can't really get into the head of this candidate that had made the offer before, so sometimes, Commissioner Barth, it works that way, if they're a highly motivated party and they're just kind of trying to, play the field and, kind of take their chances that, nobody's going to buy this thing, we'll just wait around and, they'll come around to, our position. Sometimes that happens. And sometimes they're just very casual and don't really care. And, based on the level of this offer, I don't know what to read from that. If they're just kind of throwing a flyer out there and, hey, if it works, great, but they might not be that serious. So it's kind of hard to answer. But certainly that's a strategy that we somewhat employed, actually, in the sale of the county land, year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay, additional questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, we get to make a decision. We have 3 different asking prices, and we have 3 different brokers' fees.
And let's review those fees again for a moment.
Lloyd Properties was at 6, and Nelson was at 5.5, and NAI was at 5. I have that right, people? I think so. Yep.
So if I may, Madam Chair, being on the museum board, I certainly did have a positive result working with the Nelson firm on selling that property that we had for so long for sale up north there that the museum sold and is now being built into the archive. And I have great respect for that result and for their efforts on it. And so it's not that I'm saying anything is not right with the others, but I do like the Nelson people from my previous experience. Just say that.
Additional comments, thoughts? Commissioner Benega?
Well, I'll make comments that, excuse me, I, in my real life, have worked with 2 of these 3 firms. So, and all 3 of them have a great reputation. They're all well respected in the community. They're all good people. They all live here. But it's still a business transaction. It's not personal. I would prefer that we, after we got the RFPs, that we would do business with the individual group that has the lowest percentage and the highest market price. And that would be NAI at this point.
Commissioner Karski?
I would support that train of thought. It's not a motion at this time, I don't think.
Well, I want to hear what you got to say before I get
Okay.
kicked.
But along with Commissioner Bender, the 1.5% seems like a realistic, if that already identified buyer comes to the table with an offer of 1.5% is a reasonable compensation for that. And, could we have that 1.5% for 12 months?
Commissioner Bender, have any comments?
I think we did have an opportunity to talk about this a little bit in our building committee, and so these folks have already heard my thoughts, but we were thrilled that we had 3 very highly qualified firms that were willing to make a proposal here today. I think that's a great option for us. It's always a little awkward to have these kind of conversations in public. But I think I'm fully on board with Commissioner Benega. The best interest of the county, we need to maximize the amount of money that we can generate from this building. Obviously I have a little family history in the business, and a listing price doesn't mean anything. What matters is what you sell it for at the end of the day. But a commission is a commission, and so I would have to go with the lowest commission offer at this time as well, with the reduction for the exclusion if we were able to do something in the next 12 months.
And actually, I made my comments too in the building meeting ahead, and I was the same thing. I was on board with the 5%. And we, basically what Jean said too, and mine kind of was too, and she's right. Whatever you sell it for is what you can get. But the reason we went with a broker is because we got offered 1.4, which was 40% or 42% of the actual, of the original estimate of what we got of the building value, which I realize that's market driven and it's totally different. But I'm hoping we can get more than 1.4 or 1.5 million. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone through all these steps. So that's kind of where I'm at. So now I would look for a motion.
Well, I will make a motion on the, what I stated before. I believe that it's in the county's best interest and the taxpayers' excuse me, best interest to take the lowest commission. I thought he took care of that. The lowest commission rate with the anticipation of the higher market value, and that would be NAI.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or comments?
How do
Chair,
we
I-
amend the contract?
Yes.
I'm not going to support it at this time, but I certainly understand the reasoning behind it.
Do we want to do a roll call vote then?
Sure.
Barth,
No.
Bender,
Yes.
Benega,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Heiberger.
Yes. Motion passes 4-1. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for your
You all.
presentations and for putting together these documents for us, and we greatly appreciate it, and hopefully we will get a good price. So, thank you. With that, we will go on to legislative updates. Craig Duty, item number 16.
Just want to take a moment to thank the firms again for submitting the different RFPs, and I think the county would have been in good hands with any of the three options. But getting to the legislative update here, Craig Dewey, Commission Office. There's been a lot of activity at the legislature. We have a defined universe of bills since the deadline to submit bills passed recently. And just without going through the list exhaustively explaining the ins and outs of each bill, since we've covered some of these bills before, I'll start out with Senate Bill 86. That would be the bill to revise certain requirements to sell surplus property. That bill is still awaiting a committee hearing to be determined. Likely would be sometime at the very end of next week or in the early part of March. One bill that popped up, Commissioner Heiberger, you had this brought to your attention in visiting with the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners. This bill would 1040 would be impacted. Meandering waters is the issue. That's a hot topic at the legislature, and if passed and enacted, House Bill 1040 would prevent county or township governments from vacating highways which provide access to a body of water that is 40 acres or larger. That bill is made its way to the House floor, is working its way through that process. The bill is generally supported by sportsmen. Another bill on the list here is House Bill 1076. That deals with authorizing townships, providing them with the authority to levy taxes for emergency medical services if they so choose. That bill continues to work its way through the legislative process, and if it has not already made it through the Senate vote yesterday, it should be on there today to get through. House Bill 1126 would revise certain requirements for forensic medical examinations for victims of rape or sexual offense. Right now, the county is already the responsible payer for those different tests. However, 1126 would make certain tests mandatory in all cases to be conducted, so that could have some impact to county budget. That
Just make a comment on that one. This is one that we talked about at our at the state board, and they just said that the gentleman who was bringing this forward, this bill, was very willing to work with other people on the committee to make sure that it wasn't going to get extremely expansive, and it just covered what needed to be. And the association felt like they could work with the committee on this bill. Obviously, this could end up with more expenses for the county, which is another unfunded mandate.
And this bill has yet to have its committee hearing so far. Next bill on the list, an update on 1157. That bill continues to work its way through the process, having passed the full House. If enacted, it would allow the Sioux Empire Fair to be able to collect sponsorship dollars from different alcohol licensees. There is a bill regarding county zoning boards and planning boards, House Bill 1247, and that could have a great impact on confined animal feeding operations in terms of when ordinances are changed. It could allow the planning commission or the county commission to go back and retroactively eliminate a use that is currently grandfathered into that process. So that's something that, again, hasn't really worked its way through the process yet, but we're keeping an eye on. House Bill 1294 and 1308, I will circle back to those at the end because I have a couple of follow-up questions. And lastly, we'll skip over the next bills, except for Senate Bill 98. Just to let you know, the 911 emergency surcharge is continuing to work its way through the process. That one is taking a little longer, but generally there's been broad support, as you can see, in the 7-0 committee vote when it passed Senate appropriations. But going back to House Bill 1294 and House Bill 1308, as the Commission's lobbyist, I would appreciate any direction you could offer as far as the support that you would like to see in terms of advocating for those bills, whether it be on the ground here in the office or on the ground in Pierre.
So Craig and I talked just briefly yesterday. I'm just wondering what the commission's thought would be on him going to lobby yet this week, although it's just Wednesday and Thursday, I believe, because was Friday a day off? I'm trying to remember
correct.
our conversation.
And Monday next week is also a day off
Right.
for state government because it's President's Day. The county will still be working that day, but state government also has Monday off.
So our conversation yesterday was, how did we feel about Craig going up to Pierre? He would have to leave today and be there Wednesday and Thursday to lobby on behalf of the alcohol bills. So
Madam Chair, I think
I didn't
that-
feel like that was a decision I should make. I felt that was a decision that we should make as a board.
I think the committee that's, the bills are going to be in front of meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so if it were to be on Tuesday the 20th, a day which I will be on the beach, I won't be able to be there in Pierre. I would really, really like to be there personally, but if we could use Craig as a resource to push it in that committee meeting, I would like that.
I'm talking about this week, Wednesday and Thursday. He is going up next week.
Okay.
So he
Well, I'm
wanted
not
to be there
sure.
next week.
Again, it's not going to be in the committee. We certainly would be able to meet with the legislators or to lobby them.
Commissioner Bennigan.
I would strongly support your being there to not only inform, but also to answer questions and talk about the specific cost of what alcohol is costing us. Public safety right now is over 55% of the county's budget. And unfortunately, with that, we've got a $46 to $48 million jail we're going to have to build. And secondly, or thirdly, the whole issue of operating that jail hasn't even hit the budget yet. And so that 55% is going to be the lowest possible cost that we have currently. And somehow we need to inform people of the fact that the operational cost of that jail is going to be significant, and we need their support.
I have no objection.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, because I'm not exactly sure what else Craig had on his plate for this week, and so that makes
Right.
it a little more difficult to give a lot of, if you had nothing else going on this week, then it wouldn't be a hard question, but I know that's not the case at all. So, I'm certainly supportive of you spending time lobbying for this, and I think that if we could give you that direction and allow you and Carol to look at your workflow and see if that's something that you can fit into this week without dramatically affecting other projects that you have on your desk, then I would certainly be supportive of it.
Appreciate that.
I think Commissioner Barth.
Gerald brought up a point that one of the many points that I could have brought up, which is, I think back in 1990, criminal justice and these costs were something like 30% of our budget. Now it's 55% of our budget. So every time that criminal justice and law enforcement increases, it squeezes out the other things from our budget that we would like to do, whether it's, detox, whether it's planning and zoning, whether it's any of our other projects supporting the Compass Center, or Dakota Abilities, or the Center for Active Generations.
We're not on that list, don't do that.
But the needy people that you referenced earlier,
Yes,
that if we spend all
we
the
spend
time,
all our
money on the naughty, then the
people, not on the needy
policy.
people. It squeezes out our ability to do some of the other things for our citizens in this county, and I'll get you some numbers on that.
That'd be helpful. And just highlighting again something that Commissioner Heiberger mentioned, the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners has endorsed the bill, and they're on the ground lobbying on that issue already. I know Matt Walls is part of the South Dakota Alcohol Policy Alliance. He's also lobbying this week, and then I am coordinating with Commissioner Heiberger as well to formulate testimony for her to be able to deliver that to the committee members next week as well. So really, I guess the direction that would be beneficial for me, and I've appreciated you relaying as well, would just be for a couple of days this week, given that Friday the legislature's not in session, nor on Monday.
So I think, Craig, direction would be that you and Carol discuss this and see what your calendar here looks like, and if it's feasible for you to go. And if it is not feasible, then maybe phone calls. But you have our support to go if that sounds like that's what needs to happen. So.
All right,
We're
happy
actually
to
gonna put
implement
it
whatever
back on
play
you
you
a little
call.
bit. We're going to put
Is
that
it-
back on you a little bit.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Isn't next Wednesday legislative day for the Sioux Falls community?
Yes.
Yes.
It might be an opportunity for an enhanced push.
Yeah. And I think Dean is going to maybe be up there for Sioux Falls Day. 22nd is a crossover day, so yep. We just have a few days left before we have crossover days, so.
Yes, close to the end of next week. I can't remember which day, if it's Thursday
22nd.
or Friday. It depends on the calendar, but we'll
Thursday
need.
out of committee, excuse
Okay,
me.
yeah, Thursday is out of committee.
Friday out of the
So
House of
crossover day means that the bill has to cross over from its house of origin. So
Which is Friday.
we're under a compressed time frame as far as options for dates. I know Commissioner Barth would really like to be present. We'd love to have him as well. So we'll do our best to continue to support the efforts and liaise with the SDACC in terms of coordinating that effort along with Matt Walls.
Okay, that sounds good. All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Craig. Commissioner Barth?
There's another item under legislation that I'd like to call our attention to, Senate Bill 95, which had a bit of a write-up in today's Argus Leader. It talks about hot drug tests for people who apparently are already on something like the 24/7. The change in Senate Bill 95 is that those who fail those drug tests would face up to a year in jail, but no prison time. A year in jail, wow, what a great idea. Let's put more people in jail. And if we, how about if we send people to treatment instead of jail? They're talking about the growing use of methamphetamines being a hot topic in the legislature, but abstinence doesn't cure people from wanting what they are addicted to. And putting people in the county jail, I would be happy to do it if the state would just pay all those costs. I got about $45 million I'd like them to cover now. Anyway, Senate Bill 95.
Okay, thank you. That, we're going to go on to Minnehaha County Liaison Reports. Are there any reports? Commissioner Benega?
I attended, and along with Carol, the Fair Board meeting last week, I think it was. Excuse me. And they are in a planning mode to, I guess, put together a long-range plan for building-related issues and operational issues that have been kind of ignored for a while. So at some point in the near future, we will have a priority list that will be 3 to 5 to 10 years long on what they need to do to enhance the building that we own, frankly, and the property that we own. So
Thank you.
it'll be an interesting meeting.
It will be. Any other liaison reports?
Madam Chair, go ahead.
Oh, I can just give a really brief one. The Homeless Advisory Board, we've had some discussions about the future direction of that, and so we've had trouble scheduling meetings, but I just wanted to give you guys an update that there are ongoing meetings about the future of what that organization will be doing.
Okay, thank you.
And we had an ambulance meeting with, working on revising our ordinance, and our state's attorney representative was there, and we made some good progress, I think.
Great, great. Okay, right. Is there any new business? Commissioner? Carol?
Commissioner Carroll.
We used to call Ken
Morning,
Commissioner
Carol Mother,
Al-
Commission Administrative Staff. I'm looking ahead and appreciate the fact that you guys sat through a longer meeting today because we know that we only have 3 commissioners next week. So we've bumped a few things up. We're bumping at least one item back to the 27th when we know we'll have all of you here. I just wanted to make you aware of the fact that, yes, on the 27th, there will be a joint meeting. We had a change order come in for the museum. So that'll be, as far as we know, that's your only item for the 27th, so for a joint meeting. And also on March 6th, Commissioner Heiberger and Commissioner Barth, I believe, will be traveling back from your National Association spring meetings. So that'll bring us back to 3 again. So I'm just looking ahead, making you all aware of dates that are out there. And one of the other things that we'll be considering, right now I don't have anything for the March building meeting, but we're 3 weeks out, and anticipate that we would want to either move that up a week or back a week. So that's my only thing, looking ahead.
All right, I'll throw one out there because she said, looking ahead at the NACO convention, I've been asked to moderate one of their breakout sessions on stepping up and to share what we've been doing in Minnehaha County with stepping up during that session. So I think a good honor for Minnehaha County that we continue to be looked at nationally. So, Commissioner Barth.
I was going to bring something up under old business, Madam Chair.
Okay, old business 19.
I just was too slow earlier when we did reports, item 4A, the auditor's account with the treasurer's office. I was looking at that and checked with Bob Litz, our auditor, and the checks listed are actually down from the previous report. The previous report was had $4,311 in it. The current report has $2,875 in it. So some of those checks have been made right. And it's something we don't ever take note of. I just wanted to mention it.
Thank you. Any other old business? Okay, I would look for a motion to adjourn into executive session immediately following the commission meeting for the purpose of South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, Parts 1 and 3. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are dismissed. What do I want to say? Not adjourned. We are recessed.